I founded Lamp Financial Group in May of 2008. In the past 8 years, we've grown from me at the foot of my bed to 70 employees. We've got offices in 6 different states, and we are one of the top 100 privately held insurance brokers in the country. We did a lot of due diligence before hiring a coach. I had done some research on different management styles and techniques, and frankly, had a lot of experience personally in leadership throughout my life. But we wanted to find somebody that we gravitated toward a Rockefeller habits type of environment. But when we interviewed multiple coaches that brought exclusively that style, what attracted me to Freescale was a foundation in a lot of the meeting rhythms and skill sets that Rockefeller Habits brings to us, but a breadth in hiring techniques and a breadth of skills that were wider than that exclusive mindset. I found when I met with Rich that his experience as an entrepreneur, as somebody that had built a successful business, that had led people himself, made it easy for him to communicate with me on a high level and understand where I wanted to go into more detail and where we wanted to move past. I've had experience as a professional athlete working with many different types of coaches. Mm-hmm. And the personal relationship, the way you communicate with somebody as an individual has an effect on how effective they can be as a coach. I really felt like I clicked with Rich. It was easy to communicate. And I liked his style and the breadth of expertise that he brought to help me grow my company. When we first met, I had started self-implementing some meeting rhythms. Mm-hmm. Bringing on a professional organization to help us essentially establish how we're going to communicate up and down our growing organization was intimidating. It was intimidating for somebody else to come in and say, this stuff is going to change, and here's how we're going to have scheduled meetings, and there's going to be these kind of timelines. And as an executive, as the CEO, the way you integrate with the company needs to focus more on working on the company and less in the company. And at our first meeting that was off-site, the process was really intimidating. And as we worked through, we continued to work with Rich and Wayne, and we started to use things like the DISC personality assessments. I was able to more clearly articulate how I wanted information conveyed to me, mm-hmm. and how I wanted to convey information. As somebody at the top, I tend to think backwards. I want the end of the story first, and then I'll determine whether or not we have time to get into the details. And that DISC assessment is a great way to show everybody on that team that this is how I think, and to help them understand how they see things and hold them accountable for presenting information in a way that's easy for me to digest. So mm-hmm. My management team hasn't changed. I've got the same, frankly, we started out really wide. We've got 8 or 9 people on it. And we're getting into the process of starting to narrow that team down and establish, scrums and different levels of huddles. The people haven't changed. The manner in which we communicate, the efficiency in which we communicate, that has started to change. That's really started to take an effect, and it's really positive. I'm excited about it. Frankly, the way Freescale and helping us establish a system for bringing people on is certainly one of the areas where, as a professional organization, you've helped us grow, maybe the most. Mm-hmm. When we started, I would interview everybody, and I'm a great interviewer, and I'm great at reading people, and I kind of eyeball somebody and say pass or fail. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that Rich said to me that really, got stuck and rattled around was, we are an outstanding solicitation and sales organization. I think there's nobody better than us in the country in our space. And what Rich said to me was, as efficient as you are in finding new clients and onboarding them, if you want to scale this business and you want to take it across the country, you've got to be that efficient in finding new people to run the system. So we started by creating scorecards for internal people, and again, it was like a light bulb went off. I made maybe my most important hire as I stepped away from sales and started working more on running the company. One of the first scorecards that I got involved with was to hire my director of new business acquisition. Using these scorecards really helped me numerically kind of assess the different types of very qualified candidates. And numerically, we were able to boil it down to this person's a 119 and this person's a 120 and this one's a 121. And there's $500,000 in pay scale difference for somebody when I assess the entire situation and can put some numbers to it. There's very minimal difference in between. Freescale's helped us create a process, create a conveyor belt of assessing talent and understanding whether we want to bring someone in the fold. When we started, we didn't have job descriptions, and I said, "What do we need job descriptions for?" And now I understand how we did it when we were 20 people like that, and when we're 70 people going to 150 people, it doesn't work. You can't just say, "Go get it done." We need to clearly define the box that everybody's responsible to play it. So that was kind of the very fundamental, the first part of this process, was you guys pushing us to establish job descriptions. It was something we'd never done before. And without somebody to help us get why that's necessary, I don't know that I would have gotten to it. And from job descriptions, you can get the scorecards. And once you've got scorecards, as I'm a great interviewer, I can teach a team of people how to interview well, right? And I can teach those fishermen how to fish for talent, as well as we're teaching our producers how to fish for new clients. So Freescale's been terrific in that, as a visionary, and maybe one with less patience than some others, I tend to get frustrated getting into the details of execution. And when I speak on subjects, I want to talk conceptually. I need to get information from a couple of different perspectives to understand the concept. And then I want to move on and think about how that can help affect me and my business. And Rich was fantastic in explaining concepts to me in that manner. And his partner, Wayne, Wayne's not the visionary, he is the integrator. Wayne's fantastic at getting into the details, and getting down into the what can feel like minutia of specific topics. And there's certain times when I need that. I need to have someone drive me to focus on an issue to get through it. And my right hand man, who's our CFO, CTO, and our operations guy, he's the side of my brain that gets into the details and the minutia of execution. Right. So he and Wayne, got along famously from the word go, and they communicate in the exact same manner, which is, and it's nice. It's great to have a team that Rich can speak with me conceptually and get through big ideas and move forward. And if Rich had to try to communicate with my integrator, there could be some friction there. And when they have two people that communicate in two different ways, there's an easy marriage for me, for the visionary, and for the integrator. It is not easy to put a specific dollar amount on my company before and after implementing a system of communication and hiring people. We have the ability to get from 70 people to 150 people. We have the foundation of that anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to say is the company worth $10 now, $10 then and $20 now. But the physical dollars that we're spending on Freescale don't compare to the value of the growth. And the time that we're putting in, and for anybody in a growing business, the time commitment can be more expensive than any kind of dollar amount. So, and the time commitment, I find myself wanting to spend more time with you guys. I didn't go to Harvard Business School and have 10 MBAs. My background, undergraduate degree and professional athlete, had leadership skills, but I find myself yearning for more of the clinical academic vision of business theory, which you guys bring to me, and marrying that with my intuition and instincts and industry knowledge. And it helps give me another perspective. The ROI, if somebody twisted my arm, I'd say it's 10 to 1 on the time and money that we spent with Freescale. We've started with a group of people that we've taught this is the way we're going to fish. 12 months from now, some of those people will be fly fishing instead of using an open reel where we were using a Zebco before. And we should have another layer of management that understands how to fish and be teaching, all the players down in the trenches on how we want to communicate and how we want to execute our process. So I'm using fishing as my analogy for process execution. We've taught a core group of people the fundamentals of how we are going to scale this business. And we've spent 9 months with these 9 people understanding how we're going to scale. Where I expect to be a year from now is having some of those 9 people, their responsibility is to teach another set of 9 or 10 people how to scale. And we're going to start to really disseminate the expertise of how we're going to scale. And a top group of people start to think about scaling on a whole nother level. And you guys haven't pulled the curtain back on that yet, no doubt, because I needed to understand these fundamentals before we get to that. So I expect there's going to be a lot more learning over the next 12 months. It took me somewhere between 6 and 8 months to finally pull the trigger, and maybe it was a year to pull the trigger on hiring a coach. One of the things that I do when I go to assess any situation is I want to understand the upside. I want to understand the risk and reward. So the risk is I'm going to spend X amount of dollars on hiring these people. And beyond those X amount of dollars, I'm going to take time and open up the structure of my company to someone else's influence. Those 3 things combined, opening up the structure of my company, the dollars at the time, seemed like a lot of risk. And it was very hard to understand what exactly the reward was. Right? Saying you're going to get from here, you're going to go from 30 people to 60 people. Well, I can say I'm going to get there anyway. And so if I was talking with somebody and saying, what are you going to get out of hiring a coach? There's hundreds of thousands of really successful companies, and they all found a way to get from small to big or big to huge. And there is a way that any company can, by trial and error, figure out how they're going to communicate. It's not that without a coach, you'll never understand how to communicate or how to hire people. But what you're getting when you choose to hire a coach is, here's a program and a system that works. You can go and you can figure out how you're going to disseminate information from the CEO down to the guy that's answering the phones. You can figure that out yourself, and you can figure out how to hire effective people through trial and error. And if you're a great company, then you'll get to success. But by hiring a coach, you're going to get there faster. Here's a track that's been proven you can run on. Here's how people communicate so that information can get from the top to the bottom and the bottom to the top quickly. Here's how people hire people and establish what people's responsibilities are. This has been done before. We're not figuring this thing out right now. Rich and Wayne Franklin have executed themselves. They've worked with other companies that have already executed this.
Right.
That's the big ROI. It's not that you can't get to a spot without a coach. There's no doubt there's companies that have gotten there without a coach. But
Sure.
by hiring somebody, you're going to get there faster. And these guys are going to give you a path to run on, and you can choose all of it, some of it, or none of it. But that's the reward in this process. I think if somebody would have told me that earlier on, it would have helped me make my decision earlier.